Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I'm your host, Wendy Corner, and this podcast is for you if you're an entrepreneur. Yes, page, stage, entrepreneur, they all go together. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't have a page. You may have a solo book out. You may have a contributory book out. You may have a blog. But if you're an entrepreneur, I can guarantee you've got socials, haven't you? And what's that if it's not published work? Well, what about the stage thing? Because a lot of people go to me, I could never do a stage thing, the public speaking in it. I go, well, okay, what's your definition of public speaking? Well, getting up onto a stage with a microphone and being like Tony Robbins. Yeah, no. He does that. Leave that to him. If you can get on have a one-on-one conversation with somebody, you can do a podcast. Is that a stage? Yes, it is. And we're just about to show you what that looks like. Welcome, you're in the right place. So now today, this is a very special episode going out on New Year's Day. So this is a Happy New Year to you. I have the joy and pleasure of introducing you to Jill Brandenburg, aka Speaker Jill. Now, I could tell you a bit more about Jill, but she knows herself far better than I do. So I'm going to pass this buck over to you, Jill. Tell us a bit about who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you so much for having me. And okay, so to start, there's a reason that I'm called Speaker Jill. There is a very long story, and I will try to cut it short. So, in a nutshell, I'm a writer, a speaker, an artist, and an activist. And sometimes all at once, and sometimes, one or the other a little bit more. But I actually was doing art during COVID when my business had closed. I've been an artist forever. And I had an idea when I was running my small business to start speaking about what it was like to be a woman and to the empowerment of what it was like running my own business. And I had kind of developed Speaker Jill, thought it was a good line, right? Started my Twitter, and when COVID happened and people were on there discussing art and NFTs, well, I didn't want to lose the 400 followers that I had. So I left my Speaker Jill profile up, and it just stuck. So whether you know me as an artist, as a speaker, or as a writer, that is my name, Speaker Jill, and I am sticking to it. But yeah, and so thank you for asking. But yeah, there's a story what brought me here. I am a survivor of breast cancer, a survivor of domestic violence, and both of those things were occurring when I was trying to start my small business the first time. So that has kind of brought me into this mindset that I currently speak about in toxic positivity, which has now brought me to you.
Toxic positivity. That's the name of your book, is it?
The book is called Positivity is Overrated. Yes.
But the topic is toxic positivity. We're going to come on to that in a bit in a minute, because I mean, that stands out in and of itself, because as you rightly point out, anyone in the self-help business, anyone in that sort of personal development sphere, it's all about the feeling upbeat and positive. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So you've come from an artist perspective. The reason I wanted to mention about Jill Brandenburg is because if anybody's trying to find you on LinkedIn or on Facebook maybe not so much, but I struggle to find you on LinkedIn. And Speaker Jill, no, that doesn't work. What was her name again? So we've made sure that we've got Jill Brandenburg will be in the show notes as well as Speaker Jill.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. So we've got, this is a can you get this, audience? This is a multi-creative lady. And we're going to focus on one element today, which is the verbal side of things.
Yeah.
Both written and spoken. So I want to take you back in time. When did you first start writing? I mean, I don't mean the mechanics of it because we were all around 4 or 5 when that happened. When did you start to get enthusiastic about writing?
I actually kind of started like so many others, young women. I wrote a lot to vocalize what I was feeling, what I wanted to deal with, and what I was going through. But how my career focused writing started, my first business that I was speaking about, that was me being a wedding planner, and
Okay.
I would have all of these incidences incidents that would happen every weekend. And I would gather with my friends and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what happened at this wedding. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what happened at this one. And they were like, oh, you need to write a book. And
Wow.
oh goodness, no, nobody would ever hire me again if I told them all of these stories. And at some point, but my son was going to be a senior in high school.
Mhm.
And I'd been a wedding planner for about 5 years, and I kind of wanted to take a step back. Didn't want to miss all of the end of your school days
Mhm.
occasions. So I said, well, I'll just take a break. And that was when I really started writing and just said, well, let me just see. And what I recognized in that first, oh, let me just tell a bunch of these funny stories, I started realizing that there was a very cathartic process that was coming along with that because I, for whatever reason, did not correlate the fact that I had discovered that I had breast cancer literally 2 weeks after booking my first bride. And nobody wants to hire a wedding planner that might die before their big day, right? So I just thought I wouldn't tell anybody. Along with that, I thought it was a great idea to have my super controlling boyfriend at the time to do the business with me. So when I started to write, I had to recognize what those parts played in that journey.
Mhm.
And that is what got me on my writing journey. And that is a memoir that is in the editing process. That is not the book that I have out today,
Oh,
but
so
it is.
it is coming. It's coming to birth. You're still pregnant with that one.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It is in like the 26th, 27th rewrite editing process. You know how that goes. But that's how this started. And it's, and nothing in life is a straight line. Most certainly for me. It was like the writing crisscrossed with the speaking, which crisscrossed with the writing, which crisscrossed with the speaking, which had to be involved with the art because that's what kept me going when I was trying to do the other two. Yeah.
Mm. Throw a bit of art into the mix as well.
Hmm.
I noticed on one of your socials, you're sitting at a drum kit. You a drummer as well?
I am. I
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Well, here, no, but now my friends that I went to high school with, these boys still play in a band, and I would go and see them, and I'm one of the best air drummers there are. But we'd be in the club, and I'd be just, and I'm like, I know if I just had a drum kit, I'd be good at this. Ask and you shall receive. So a few years ago, my son was like, I said, what do you want for Christmas? I said, I really want an electronic drum kit. Okay, I live in a high rise in downtown Dallas. You can't really have a drum kit in an apartment.
You won't be
And
very popular.
so I asked for this electronic kit. Mom, are you going to actually use it if I get? Oh, yeah, absolutely 100%. And I love it. And I've played and practiced over the years. And I played for the first time, which is what you saw. I played for the first time in front of people there's a foundation, and it's called Breast Cancer Can Stick It. And it was from a woman who had gone through breast cancer, and she's a very, very talented and, influential drummer. And she does this fundraiser, of course, in, the Pink Month. And
So stick it as in the drumstick.
yeah,
Ah, nice. Like
yeah.
it.
And so they have celebrity drummers come and play, and then as you know, as either supporters or survivors, you raise money, and then you can play if you want. And so I did, terrifyingly I did, but now I
And
feel.
because that was on a real kit, wasn't it? It was a physical kit, not an
Oh, it was
electronic
on
one.
a physical kit. Yeah, my friends that I told you are in the band, they let me actually come and sit in on their practice nights and let me practice on a real kit. Thank God. But yeah, I got to play on a real kit in front of people. It was insane. I actually got to go back up because they let you play for a minute just by yourself. Yeah, it is as terrifying as you think it is. And then if you want to, you can place a donation into the pot and play with one of their celebrity drummers. And you play alongside them in duet. And I got to play with Greg Bissonette, who is Ringo Starr's drummer. I mean, and this guy, he's known for so many things. He's in this, he did a record called The Red Locust, if you know, you know, but love him, and super talented and an amazing guy, and just as kind as he could be. And I got to play alongside him, which is just, I'm that close to Ringo. So there you go.
One stage removed. How exciting is that? Sorry for just throwing that one in, but I do my research. Audience, when you're a podcast guest, make sure you do the research on your host as well. Just saying. Okay, so you started writing as a way of getting out that fill in the blanks that you were going through, and also your experiences with some of your bridezillas. Did you, as a teenager as well, did you have a diary or a journal?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I also, my mother used to tell me, do not write anything down that you don't want the whole world to see. Well, you know, like many parents might do sometimes, is they will want to know what their teenager is doing and might tap into their diary. Yeah. So it was an interesting process for me to want to like put things down. And now, of course, you know, with social media, everybody writes down every little thought that comes into their head and exposes their entire world, right? But back then, you know, and my mother was of a generation where, you know, you didn't tell everybody your business. So, but yeah, I absolutely, I wrote.
That's where you'd write in your diary. You can tell the diary all your business. Mum, don't look.
Right. Yes. If I could go back, I would have bought a better lock.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm interested because a lot of the people that I have interviewed over this year, some of them have, well, no, the first time I wrote was when I wrote my business book. Some have been, oh no, I was writing poetry at the age of 4, or I wrote a play at the age of 10, and it has actually had a full presentation. It's been put on stage. And, oh, okay, that's why I'm curious. So, as a teenager, you're writing down, and that developed then into initially the memoir that is presently going through its 110th iteration. You know, at some point you just got to go, that's it.
Yeah. I think this is the last. I think this is the last rung. I think this is where I'm finally happy with it, and it's about to make its appearance.
Good for you. We've heard it, audience, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. When are you planning to get this one published?
I actually would love to go the traditional route for this particular book. And I know there's a much bigger process in that, the queries that you need to go through, all of that. And I already have a couple of people that I know I can personally submit to. So that's where I'm at. So I know that the process will be longer, but it's been this long. So I'm willing to.
In no particular hurry. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. So let's backtrack to this particular book that we're talking about today. The Positivity is Overrated.
Positivity is Overrated. Yes, ma'am.
Positivity is Overrated. Now that came out in when?
Oh, just a month ago.
So November 2020. 24.
24. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And that was on the back of your experiences going through your traumatic experiences and not being accepted for the trauma that you were going through. Forgive me, I'm putting words in your mouth. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, actually, and how this came to be was really in instances like when we would speak and groups that we're a part of, and I would have to explain what toxic positivity was to people. I mean, that is really when I speak, it's like, okay, this is what it is, and this is why you should try to avoid it. And here's some tips of things you can do instead of that. And I met a lot of coaches and a lot of people that speak, and they all tended to have a book that was kind of validating of their process or what they spoke upon or their theme. And I'm like, oh, maybe this would be a good idea. Of course, I like to write. So I really sat down and thought, this is something that I thought can help people until they can hear me. And so that's how this came to be. Yes. And it has 10 tips in it that are like, there's a first half kind of is like the myths of toxic positivity, kind of like the fake it till you make it deal, and there's always there's a reason for everything kind of deal. So each one of those, I address basically what it is, and then I speak about my personal story that connects to that, which is something that I dealt with or I used to do. And so you get a little snippet of my life that will hopefully help you correlate with things that you may have gone, oh yeah, I went through something like that. And then there's a tip, and then there's a writing prompt. So each one of these, there's 10 in there. So each tip comes with a page with a writing prompt that correlates with that you can write your own experience to try to help you make notes to how you can better deal with this when you're kind of dealing with it or approached with it, because toxic positivity has permeated every facet of our lives, and I'm even still guilty of it. I literally, almost the other day, I was talking to a friend and I almost said, I kind of stopped myself, but I was like, at least it's not, in regards to a medical thing that she was telling us about. And I was like, well, at least it's not that. And I was like, okay, that's the antithesis of what I want to say. And I stopped myself because I didn't want to invalidate her feelings. So it does work.
So the toxic positivity is, define it for us, would you?
Oh, of course. All right. So toxic positivity is the way that society has kind of placed a necessary forced positivity. Like even when like the world is imploding, your life is falling apart, you may have lost a job or you're getting a divorce or something like that. And you either say to yourself, oh, this is all for the best, everything's going to be okay. You kind of talk yourself out of invalidating your feelings. When this also occurs a lot when friends don't know what to say, when you're going through a crisis and they don't want to say, kind of what's going on. They're like, oh, well, when one door closes, another one opens. That's toxic positivity, because what you really want is for that person to show up with a bottle of wine, scream and holler at the universe with you, and watch a sad movie, cry, scream, yell, get it out. Then you can move on. But you gotta feel the feelings. And I think we've become a society where we just stopped letting ourselves. Yeah, everything is like, oh, don't be negative, right? Don't be a Karen. And there's a fine line, and I address that in the book repetitively. There's fine lines, but we have to allow ourselves to feel in order to authentically grow.
Yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? If there are so many things that we do in life to numb out the stuff we don't want to address.
Mm-hmm.
The most obvious ones are, the smoking, the drinking, the alcohol, the sex, the shopping addictions, all of those. They're designed, well, not designed, but they do, that they're our choice of how we numb out. And that's what you're addressing, isn't it? Because if we don't actually physically feel, almost somatically feel those emotions that we're suppressing, that we're walking away from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one thing, and again, in the circles in which we both travel, and I know we've talked about this before, but things happen that aren't great.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in our business have spoken about being grateful. And you know, and I'm a student of self-help. I've got books over there that I could tell you about. Manifesting, I know, is the hot topic right now, but before that was gratitude. And everybody was like, if you're just grateful for everything, just be great. No matter what comes at you, just thank you and be grateful. No, I was about to cuss. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
because not everything is meant to, you know, and even if it is meant to be some sort of a lesson, we don't have to accept that. We can be angry and cry and be upset about it, but you can't sit in it. You know, that's the thing.
That's the difference, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. I mean, everything is, it's kind of like everything else, moderation, right? If you sit in the sun too long, you know, it's
Gonna get
the
burned.
shade's going to come or sunburn's going to come, one of the two. So you
Yeah.
got to keep moving. But
Yes.
this is a way for you to just allow people to feel. You don't always have to put on a brave face. That's really all it is.
Yes. And you're so right, that phrase, at least, because you know that whatever comes after at least is going to negate the feelings that you're experiencing at the moment, when actually what you really want is somebody to go, I see you.
Yes.
Yeah. Two people that I know very well have posted today that one, her mother, and the other one, her grandmother, have passed today. And you know, I mean, the daughter actually said, at least I know she's out of pain now. And I'm going, yes, and you're in pain, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. The bereavement thing. I mean, I've experienced a sudden death.
Yeah.
And those of us who have witnessed people who sadly have not survived cancer, you can see them going downhill. And people have asked me, what do you think, which is the better way of doing it? Whether you are suddenly put in that situation or whether you're kind of being prepared, because my mother-in-law had motor neuron disease, or ALS as you call it in America.
Yeah.
So I've seen it from both sides. And it doesn't matter, even if you are preparing yourself for it, when it comes, it still hurts like hell. And it's being able to acknowledge that in somebody else and go, I see you. Yeah.
And you recognize, and here's the thing, you know, we don't want to, you don't want to shame anybody for saying that, because they're trying to help. They genuinely, you know, that's coming from a good place. But as people, we just don't know what else to say. And so that's my goal, is to help you have other things to say, you know, to help you be able to go and not say, not default to that, at least this. You know, there are other ways you can address it. And you know, and like you said, I love that, being seen and just being there for, sometimes you just need a body sitting next to you in quiet. And sometimes you
don't
need
say anything.
Yeah, and not say
Just
anything.
feed me the tissues.
I know. I talk about this in the book. I'm a huge pop culture fanatic. I think it's part of my generation, but that my art is derived from that as well. So I make a lot of pop culture references in my book and things. And it's one of those things where you have to recognize that sad songs and sad movies exist for a reason.
Yes.
And it is a way for you, because when I was going through cancer, I watched a movie at once and just cried my eyes out. And a friend was, she's like, why would you put yourself through that? And I knew then, even though I didn't recognize that what I was dealing with was trying to, you know, actually embrace my emotions, I knew somehow it was helping.
Yeah. And as you say, it's acknowledging them, letting them out, feel the feel, because as somebody once said to me, if you don't feel, you can't heal. And again, sounds trite, but it's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes the simplest things are.
So we've looked at your writing. Let's move on to your speaking side of things. So you mentioned that, I mean, as a wedding planner, did you have to do any speaking?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I I would speak, of course, when I would run the rehearsals. I was very diligent and you this. So I've never had a problem speaking in public. And when I owned an escape room and I had to convey the directions and the story, and I taught my kids that, not my personal kids, but kids that worked for me that I used to call my kids. I would teach them that they had to prep and to tell the story. And I was very surprised at when you don't make speaking in public a big deal and you don't address it like, I know you're going to have to speak in front of a lot of people. And you just go, okay, you're going to stand up and you're going to say this. If you want to read it until you learn it, because eventually it'll just stick in your brain and you won't need this sheet, but they could read it if they needed to. And then when they kind of owned it and they knew the story, then they would evoke their own kind of, themselves into it. So I think sometimes we just make things harder on ourselves than they are. But no, I've never had a problem speaking, thankfully. So yeah, if that answers the
I'm
question.
curious. Look, I've interviewed a number of people from the US and from Canada, and hearing that giving presentations was part of your school curriculum. Now, that was never the thing in the UK.
Really?
Yes. So, I mean, you could get to, if depending on what you did at university, you could get all the way through to graduate and beyond without ever having had to give a presentation. So there were all sorts of people that I now see who are going, oh, I was shamed at school, I was ridiculed. And I go, that's interesting, because that is not part of my experience at all. So you presumably then you had to give presentations at school, did you?
100%. I was the dork that was like, oh yay, we get to do a book report, because you did, and at a very young age you would either have to, what was those things called? They'd give you a scene and you have to create it. Dioramas. You'd have to build the diorama of,
Okay.
I think one time we had state capitals. I'll never forget. You know how the things that stick with you? Mine was Juneau, Alaska. And so I had to make a diorama of the capital of Alaska inside, but everybody had a different capital. And you had to get up in front of the class and announce your, what you did and why you did it and all the statistics and stuff. I never thought twice about doing it. I guess I'm just lucky. But yeah, you knew the kids that hesitated, that were scared and did not want to give it, obviously. But yeah, it was always a thing. You either had to get up and give a book report, or you had to do, the group thing where the group project, and then there was the one person like, oh, I'll give it, and I'd be, oh, I'll be the one who talks. Yes. But even with all of that, I will say this, I joined a Toastmasters group.
Right.
And this was, that's as with everything with me, long story, but in a nutshell, I joined a Toastmasters group. And then I found out that there was competitive speaking that existed within the Toastmasters group. And I'm not going to say that I'm a competitive person, but there's a whole bunch of trophies over on that shelf that'll say otherwise. I think that was such a good idea. And if that exists and that might be something you're interested in, I don't participate in it really anymore. But even when I thought I was good, it made me better.
Yes. Well, that's one of the joys of Toastmasters, isn't it? It gives you lots of examples and lots of opportunity for speaking. Whether you choose to do the competitions or not, you do have lots of opportunities to actually speak. Now, my slight beef with Toastmasters is that it depends on the group you're in as to the quality of your feedback.
Yes.
So,
and I will say I have a Pavlovian response already, because when we first started talking earlier, I remember when I was introducing myself and I said, and And I said a couple of times. And if you're a Toastmaster out there, you know that I was just mortified inside of myself because I'm out of practice. But yeah.
How many ums? How many ers? How many filler words?
What's your crutch word? What's your filler word? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Audience, if you're going, what?
Yeah.
Toastmasters is very clear on certain parameters. And one of the things they absolutely hate are those hesitation words, the ers, the ums, and the absolutelys, and the by the way, and all of those little filler phrases that we put in, which are indicating that you're kind of not really conscious of what you're saying. So they beat it out. For a good reason. For a good reason. I mean that metaphorically. There's no violence involved.
Yeah, but mine was a so. And as a writer, and that's me, like, I'm trying to transition you. When I'm up there speaking, I'm like, let me carry you over here from here to here. And so is the way I would do it. And I have I mean, I learned a lot from them, but that is, you do as I say and not as I do kind of thing.
Yeah, so is my transition word for sure.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so your speaking stuff, you started in middle school, grade school. I don't know how you describe things.
Yeah.
Forgive me. So, but it's been part of your experience all the way through. It's never been an issue for you. Just give you a metaphorical microphone, give you a stage, and you're there.
Yes and no. When I started in Toastmasters, and this is maybe I have a tip if you'd like me to share, or a little nugget of wisdom, as they may ask. I do have one, and it has to do with my speaking experience. Because as confident as I may look and sound, I'm assuming, let's hope I'm right, I could not do that without a series of superstitions that I created for myself. When I first went to give my speech, and again, like you just said, I'd been speaking, never had a problem, never bothered me. But when I gave my very first competitive speech, I was shaking, like literally visibly hand shaking. And I was like, I hadn't experienced it. What is this? Why am I so nervous? And it was, could have been debilitating. And I know a lot of times, and you've probably had people on that have said, use that nervous energy, use that to propel yourself and all of that. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It just terrified me. Do you have vitamin water where you are? I know we were discussing sodas earlier, fizzy drinks. Vitamin water, it's just flavored water, but it has like some stuff in it. Different colors supposedly give you energy or focus or things like that.
Right.
And for whatever reason, first speech that I gave, I drank this purple Revive vitamin water. And they can contact me for a sponsorship after this. But I drank that, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a caffeine buzz without having caffeine in it. And took a couple of Advil because I was so nervous. I was trying to calm down. And that became my personal superstition. The one speech that I completely bombed, and I literally in front of a group of everybody forgot my speech 3 lines in and forgot what I was going to say. That's a whole other embarrassing little scenario. Was the one time that I couldn't get a drink on the way, and I didn't stop, and when I got there they didn't have it, yada yada yada. And I think that if you're going to speak, especially on stage in public, create, or maybe you don't have to fake it, just you don't realize that you do it. If you have a superstition, or if you have a tradition that you do it. Because even if you're just crazy and going, oh, every time before I go on stage, I have to stomp my foot 3 times, right? That's going to give you it may be the antithesis of what I say about trying to talk yourself into everything's going to be all right, but I think it works. I think if you have something that you can psychosomatically go, this is going to make me okay before I go out onto stage or before I have to sit on a podcast or before I have to do anything, just do something because it doesn't hurt anybody, right? Unless, of course, you can't get access to it and then you'll forget your speech. So
one of the things, taking that example that you've got, I was working as part of my role has been as head speaker coach for TEDx, University of Western Australia, for 5 years. And we had one of our speakers who, the first time he tried his speech, he was literally physically shaking.
Yeah.
So I pulled him aside afterwards and I actually did some NLP techniques with him. So we anchored in a sense of total confidence. And he repeated this multiple times during our preparation work. And just before he got on stage, he accessed his resource anchor and he did a phenomenal presentation. So taking what you've just described, but putting it in, putting it in a more consciously resourceful way.
Make it a little more healthy and less superstition. Yeah, that's probably a much better option.
Because we're pulling in on the emotions that you've experienced already.
Yeah.
So yeah, audience, if you're wondering what on earth am I talking about, message me below. Let's jump on a call and I'll explain it to you. Free of charge. Anyway, so brilliant. That was a bit about your speaking. Your book, we were explaining, has come out in November 2024. The reason I'm saying the full date is because this podcast will be up for available for ever after. Just giving you definite time there. And you've got a new book in the percolation that I'm suspicious. I'm going to put you down to next year, 2025.
That is my goal. 2025 is the goal.
Right. Well, you got 12 months.
Yeah.
So if I come back to you this time next year, because let's face it, if this episode is going out on the 1st of January, we have a full calendar year. If I come back to you on the 1st of January 2026, I'm looking forward to you seeing your book in your hand.
You know what? I do very well under pressure.
There you go. I've given you 12 months.
Oh, that's still, you will literally be in the back of my mind as, so many great, I think, artists, speakers, writers, whatever your mode of expressing yourself to the world is, that there is somebody in the back of your head that's talking and pushing and doing things. And so there you go. Now you've earned a spot.
You can do it. The accountability encouragement thing. Yes.
Yes, accountability works.
One of the coaches I've worked with in the past had a various range of sized boots that she used to use. And she'd warned me, this is a size 9 coming. So you knew what she was about to say would really hit home.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just gonna go with, I think probably yes.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So we've looked at your speaking, we've looked at your writing, we've looked at what you've been working on. We've got this wonderful book out at the moment. All of the information, audience, will be in the show notes. And just so you know, if you're new to this podcast, these show notes are dynamic. What do I mean by that? If our beloved guests come back to me and go, I've got something else coming out, I'm about to launch a program, or I've got a new book coming out, I then go back in, change the show notes, and do a quick socials blast. And if they tell me they've got a new book coming out, then usually it's a case of, let's have you on another version. Because the whole point is, if you as an entrepreneur have a book out, if you are not using podcasting as part of your marketing strategy, why not? You need to get out in front of your ideal audience. And that's what the podcasts enable you to do. Beautiful. Okay. My last question for you is, when you get on stage, how do you embody your words when you take them from page to stage?
think hmm, what I really do is I try to talk to them like I am telling a story to my friends, right? Like when you are, let's say if you're on your way to a party or a dinner or something with your friends are at the restaurant, you're late, okay? And it's because this, and this happened. And you walk in and you're like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And you want them to feel what you just went through. You want them to feel the excitement or the exhilaration of you avoiding whoever cut you off in traffic, or you know, or hitting every red light. You want them to feel that. And I don't know what kind of magic spark that it is that some of us that, when we try to convey that, you can suck the people into your story so they can be there with you. There are parts of my story that are very uncomfortable. But going through the domestic violence situation that I did at the same time I was going through cancer and all of that. And it's important that people get what you're trying to tell them. And I think the way that I most connect is the people that I see in the audience that are resonating with me, the ones that their eyes are fixed on me. I will speak to them, and then I will find somebody else that is connecting. I've seen people tear up in certain instances, and it's not that you want to make them, but but if I'm connecting with you to where it's bringing out your emotions, yeah, that's my goal, because then you're gonna get from my story, you're connecting with it, so that where I've come to and what I've come to learn about, toxic positivity and dealing with your emotions, all of that matters. It's like nobody just wants to hear my story to hear it. They want to know,
Yeah.
how can I make my life better?
Yes.
But if you are connecting with my story and somehow, it's gonna go, oh, well, if this helped her and I feel this, it can help me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, love it. Love it. That's the thing, isn't it? The art of a good writer, the art of a good speaker is drawing the audience in along with you,
Yeah.
because they then are invited to put themselves in your story. It no longer becomes about you. It becomes about me putting myself in your shoes and going, oh, how would I feel doing that?
Yeah.
How would I react? Yeah, beautiful.
And it's when it's all said and done, it's the authenticity of you up on stage.
Mm,
Because like I said, if you're telling people about the traffic of why you're late, you want them to feel that with you, and it's the same thing when you're up on stage and you're telling them a story. It's the authenticness. I know that's not a word, Toastmasters, I just coined it. But
authenticity, yes.
yes, but it is, because like you said, if they can feel it, then they can understand it, and hopefully it will all be, for the greater good.
Yeah. Now, I was reading, I'm running a group at the moment, which is for authors to get a bit of accountability thing. And we've been masterminding their chapters. And one of the ladies made such an impact by a few tweaks that were suggested the week before. And within the space of just over a page, I had 3 goosey moments. It was so powerful. And I'm just saying, when you come to deliver this from stage, girl, whoa, that is going to be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lovely. Thank you, Jill. So we've looked at your writing, we've looked at your speaking, we've looked at this beautiful book that is going to just get people to think, be a bit more conscious about how we show up for ourselves as well as how we show up for other people. Love it. And how you are authentic from stage. Beautiful. As we're winding up, have I missed anything? Is there anything you want to share that we've missed?
Oh my goodness. You know, they always tell you, like, if you do a job interview and they ask you at the end of the interview, "Do you have any questions?" And they said, "Don't ever say, 'I think you covered everything.'" That's about what I was about to
Oh, that's
say.
fine. That's fine.
But
Well,
then,
then share some words of wisdom as we're
oh
finishing.
goodness. Okay. So, actually, it's it's kind of funny. What I was about to tell you, my vast words of wisdom is just what you said. Um, show up for people. And I was asked to share some wisdom the other day, and I was unprepared. And I thought I really believe this in my core, is how important it is to show up for people. And in this post-COVID world that we have, I think there is so many people that are, granted, again, one of those fine lines, right? It's like, yes, self-care, and yes, you need to be able to say no if you can't. But if you're just sitting on the couch and you have told somebody that you are going to show up for a party or an event or a showing or whatever it is, and you don't have a true reason, you know, even if it's not a good one, but if you're just like, "Nah, I just don't feel like it," just try, show up for them. You might be the only one that does, and it will make you feel better. It'll make you feel better about yourself for showing up because, you know, hopefully whether it's them, because nothing should be just reciprocal, but you should always just do it. And then hopefully the universe will make sure that that comes back to you. Um, and I think the biggest nugget of wisdom that I have is feel your feelings. Don't negate anybody's pain, anybody's anger, anybody's stress. Just try to, you know, if they need to throw a phone across the room, don't hand them yours because then they'd have to pay you for it and all that. But maybe hand
Yeah,
them something unbreakable. Yeah.
yeah,
So there you go.
yeah.
And get my book. That's the biggest thing. Go get my
But
book.
don't throw the book,
Don't throw the
please.
book. Well, actually, you can. It is there's a Kindle version. Don't throw that one. But then there is a paperback version, which can easily be chunked across the room.
Thank you so much, Jill. This has been a lovely conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it on a topic that people might initially go, "What?" So it's been lovely for you to just open horizons a bit more and get us to consciously think about how we show up, as I said, for ourselves and for each other. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Jill, for sharing your From Page to Stage.
You are so welcome, and thank you for having me. This has been great.
But no, not from us.